Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. 3 months since my divorce was final. Doing better than I would have thought. Part 2. In late February, I decided it was time to return to my hometown. I had already considered whether I still wanted to live there. Again, since I work remotely, I can technically live wherever I choose as long as there is an internet connection. Worked remotely even before COVID. But wherever I was going to reside, I was scared of being alone and of not having the emotional support that I had received for the past 2 or 3 months. I was afraid of what it would be like to live in the house where I had spent my married life. Would I burst into tears every time I drove by a location that brought back a memory? And there were many such locations and memories. This was a significant question. I made the decision that I would not let her or the circumstances deprive me of a location I loved. It would only be a haunted location if I allowed it to be thus. I knew it would be difficult. But I also knew that facing it straight on was the best way to cope with it. If I didn't confront it, it would always remain a haunting place. Finally, I said, *CK that. This scenario will not make me a victim. As a result, I relocated closer to the lake where I like fishing. I'm just a few miles away from my previous house, where my ex still resides. What do you think? I'd gaff. That's what I mean. I'm a stoic to the core. Divorce support. You probably heard of it if you haven't before. If you want to learn more about it, Google it because I'm not going to go into detail about it other than to mention it's a nationwide faith-based divorce support organization. So, on the recommendation of others, I signed up for it. The woman in charge was kind enough, although she spoke a lot. The first and only Met I attended, there were 5 people in total. The lady who led it and her husband, myself, a woman with children going through a divorce, and a man with children going through a divorce. Oh, and I almost forgot to say that I don't have any children, thank God, as this would have made my situation much more difficult. I'm not going to criticize the program. Many people claim it benefited them a lot, so I won't take anything away from that, and I'm pleased it did. However, I didn't think it was for me, and here's why. I left feeling worse than when I came in. It was pounded into us from the start that the next 6 months to a year of your life would be absolute torment. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the gist of it. In my perspective, I just do not enjoy terrible things being prophesied over my life. According to the Bible, the power of the mouth determines life and death. I had battled so hard for my mental health up to this point, with God's aid, that I was not going to let it be undone by people I didn't even know who were meant to be helping me. Yes, things were difficult, and I knew I'd still have to deal with some issues. I wasn't in denial. But I have a choice as well. I have the option of wallowing in despair or unhappiness for the next 6 to 12 months or more, or I may fight and move on. I'm not here to tell you that you can avoid grief and unpleasant feelings. You can't do it. That will strike you. You can, however, choose whether or not to allow it to entirely govern your life. You have the option of wallowing in the mud puddle or moving through it to the other side. I took the decision that I was not going to wallow in that filth, and I was not going to allow anybody to help me do so. Please understand that I am not implying that I ignored or repressed my emotions. No, I didn't. I let myself to feel, weep, and do anything I wanted. I still do on occasion, but I'm making progress. Now, back to the present. Move on and dating again. I'm not here to advise you whether you should start dating now or later. That's not my position. I feel that the proper timing is unique to each individual. As I had mentioned, I would not date until the divorce was finalized, citing moral grounds. But the fact is that even if I hadn't had my moral code, I still wasn't ready. Knew I wasn't ready, and didn't want to date before it was final, since I was an emotional disaster anyhow. For one reason, my self-esteem was shattered. Being cheated on does a number on the sufferer, evicting the soul. The one person you're supposed to be able to trust the most *CKS you over in the most personal manner possible. It's as though if there's one thing we all agree on when we marry, it's loyalty. She did the one thing you don't do, and I had my own chances to cheat as well. I may have also justified it to myself, but I would never have done such a thing, and I never did. So yeah, I can declare that I am a better person than she is, and in the end, she saved me from a marriage to someone I couldn't trust. So there's that. Why would I want another 8 years of my life taken when I've already had 8 years stolen? Or how about 10, 20, or 30? As a result, the divorce was finalized in early March 2021. I'd barely been in my new apartment for a week or two. Even though we were legally finished, there remained a few loose ends to be wrapped up. health insurance, taxes, and a joint checking account. I had opened my own account earlier on, but we still had one account with both our names on it to move money to one another for things like mutual bills and end-of-year taxes, etc. Some folks in my life advised me to wait 6 months to a year before dating. In addition, the great majority of those persons had never gone through a divorce, much alone one in which they were the victims of adultery. Isn't it strange how it works? I think they know what they're talking about if they read enough blog posts. And then some folks informed me that the sooner I got back on the horse, the better. While I did listen to all sides, and I believe that any given piece of advice is likely to be relevant for someone somewhere, it's truly on a case-by-case basis, depending on the individual. In my perspective, there is no one-size-fits-all rule of thumb. I eventually made my decision based on how I felt, not on what others thought. I didn't think it was fair to put me in the penalty box. FFS, I wasn't the one who cheated. Besides, why should I? So I could allay some other people's fears. I knew I was intellectually honest enough to recognize whether I was really unprepared, since I knew I wasn't in January. Yes, I contemplated it despite my own moral objections, so it's not like I deceived myself. I'm also 40F*C King years old. I know exactly what I want. I don't have to discover myself or anything. The lady I believed I had in my marriage was not who I thought she was. The lady I desired was not the one I already had, so I resolved to locate the lady I desired. I'm just growing older, and time is a vital thing, so why wait if I was really ready? I joined 4 dating sites within a week of the divorce being finalized. I quickly found myself messaging with a number of ladies. Within 2 weeks, I had my first date. Then there was another. The second date was with a fantastic lady. We got along wonderfully since she was really gorgeous and had a fantastic personality. I'm now juggling discussions with 10 or 12 ladies. It took me approximately a week to regain my mojo. I hadn't dated in 8 years. Then I went on a date with a third lady. I'm still juggling double digits on the phone and text, feeling them out, and they're feeling me out. So the third lady I went on a date with. I'll get back to her. But we're exclusive and just had our 2-month anniversary 2 days ago. Amazing. She's when I initially started dating. I believe that many, if not most, women would be hesitant to date me since I had just completed a divorce less than a month before. Going into it, I was aware that this was a possibility. I, on the other hand, just responded F*CK it. Let's find out. And boy did I like it. Yes, they had concerns, as they should. I just stated the truth about everything. I was a blank slate. And I accepted responsibility for my own flaws and shortcomings. I didn't blame her for everything. The fact is that there were mistakes I made in the relationship, but I learned from them. Also, when she cheated, I never did, despite having abundant opportunities in the past. It turned out that the fact that I had been in therapy the whole time, and was still going, was a great turn-on for them. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, "That's awesome you're going to therapy. Most men would never do that." In addition, "Wow, you're quite resilient." The fact that you're doing so well tells a lot about you. You're definitely a powerful individual. These were things I heard on in-person dates as well as over texting. It didn't hurt that the ex and I had already been divorced for 3-4 months. Yes, the divorce wasn't finalized until March, but the separation began much earlier. I was able to claim once again that I remained loyal till the end, that I didn't even try to date till it was all over. This also earned me a lot of brownie points with the women. And even though my ex was I didn't take that as an excuse to lower myself to her level. Despite the terrible sins against me, I remained a class act the whole time. Out of around 15-20 women, just one refused to date me because I was so recently divorced, and it had nothing to do with me. She had her own experience with being used as a rebound numerous times in the past, so she was understandably terrified. Those dates and conversations with ladies were the best I've ever had in my life, I have to say. I'm not sure whether it was simply because I'd grown so much since I was in my early 30s or what, but I can say that on those occasions I felt more secure in myself. I'm still not sure why or how, particularly given what had transpired, but I have a notion. Essentially, the worst thing that could happen in a relationship actually happened to me. So what did I have to be afraid of? I'd already been through that, and I'm still here, right? And I'm here at this restaurant, eating dinner with this beautiful lady who is staring the living out of me, so why shouldn't I feel self-assured? It still baffles me to this day. When the alleged love of my life cheats on me, you'd think I'd be curled up in a fetal position, disgusted with myself and ready to die. Not that I hadn't felt that way at some point and for some time prior. But I was proving to myself that the adulterous, fire-breathing banshee from hell doesn't get to define who I am or what I'm worth. Except for myself and God, no one does. She can only have an impact on my life to the extent that I allow her to. And I'm not going to let that happen. No way, no how. So, if you're worried that no one would want to date you so soon after a divorce, don't be so confident. But do take the time to see a counselor, process your sh*T, and work to heal. And, make no mistake, it is work, however it pays off. Granted, I'm not completely recovered yet. Some things simply take time, but that would be a ludicrous assumption at this point anyhow. What I do know is that I am way more healed than many, if not most, others who have gone through comparable hell at this point in time. Again, I give credit to God, myself, and those who make up my support system, family and close friends. I trusted God and also did the work to speed up my healing. I wasn't a slacker. I did not just wait till I felt better. I did something to help myself feel better. So, by the end of the date with the third female, I was completely captivated. I went on another date or two with the second girl against the advice of a female buddy. I was astonished that I discovered someone with whom I thought I'd bonded better than the second. She would have been impossible to beat. And I had fully meant and expected to be dating for a long time and dated many women before I got on one with whom I would have wanted to be exclusively involved. But things simply occurred the way they did. I know exactly what I want and what I'm searching for. And I discovered it far sooner than I had imagined. Sure, this has to play out, and who knows how things will turn up. But thus far, all I can say is, wow. This connection is already 10 times better than the one I had with my ex, even while we were dating and married. I met the lady I'm now dating within the same month that my divorce was finalized. I'm still surprised it happened that way, but it did. And she's more attractive than my ex-wife. Lol. Stay tuned for next part.